Well, hello from the southeast of England. My name's Penny and I live here with my husband Pete. It's a little bit of a bright sunshine day, cloudy day, a little bit of rain day, a bit chilly day. We always talk about the weather in England or Great Britain because one part of the country can be full sunshine, as has happened to me recently. I went to the west of England and it was quite stormy and wet. And here where I live, it just said full sun every day. But as we can see, things don't stay the same. They change from one day to the next. So let me tell you about that. How have you been? It's been 2 weeks since I saw you last. I hope your 2 weeks has been good. I felt a bit, how can I say? I felt a little bit, I was waking up in the night and feeling a bit, what's going on? A little bit of tummy ache, and I thought, something's going on here. And what it was I looked in my emotional purse. That's the way I find out. Have you heard of an emotional purse? I was a counsellor and we used to talk about them quite a lot. They're quite helpful. It's an imaginary purse. How much money's in yours? Thinking about your energy, thinking about what you can do, thinking about how you're feeling. Well, I looked in my purse and instead of there being, £5, I like a good £5 note in my purse. There was a few coins and you can't do much here with a few coins. I thought, what we're going to do? What we're going to do? I've got to put some more money in my emotional purse. Well, for me, rest is a good thing. So I thought, yes, I need to rest. Rest needs to happen, but also something different because I've been in since, last autumn really, with Pete not being well and him being at the hospital, and I needed to get out. And I knew that doing that, which would expend a bit of energy, would in the long run help me get something in my emotional purse. So I went to Devon. I'll tell you about that in a minute. It was lovely. We only went for 3 nights, 4 days, 3 nights, and we loved every single minute of it. And it did us the power of good. The power of good. I got some more money in my emotional purse. But when I came home, I knew it wasn't enough. I like to have that £5 if I can. No, it was about £2.50 actually. So I thought, how can I get some more? And for me, again, it's rest. Rest and doing things I like, crafting. So that's what I've been doing. I've had a good old rest for the last 2 weeks. We went to see my daughter up the line, her daughter and my great-grandchildren, my daughter-in-law and not daughter-in-law, granddaughter-in-law and grandson. They popped in after work and some friends were there. I've been to see my other daughter, my great-grandson, Tommy. So yeah, we've had some good interaction and we've had a lovely stay away and it's done me the power of good. And when I look in my emotional purse now, I'm up to £5. Oh, can you see? Pouring with rain. I thought I'd sit this way so you could see the bright sunshine, but by the time I set the camera up, it had changed. Anyway. So how can we get that money into our emotional purse if we need to? There's all different ways. For me, it's rest, it's crafting. For you, it might be going out for a long walk. I think for me as well, it's seeing friends and family and that little trip away, certainly. We can talk about as well, I've learned over the last couple of weeks, burdens and loads. We carry our own load. We're okay, we can manage, but sometimes there's that something we need help with, isn't there? That burden. And I'm a bit of a sometimes I struggle on, and people say, "You okay? Would you like any help?" And I say, "Oh, no, I'm fine, thanks. We're managing." But truth be told, I could do with a bit of help, even if it's only a coffee with friends. So, yeah, it's about asking for help, isn't it? People love to help. I'm sure you love to help if someone asks you. So never be afraid to ask for help. That's what I've learned the last couple of weeks. Also, what plays a big part is the Plimsoll line. Have you heard of the Plimsoll line? Samuel Plimsoll, he was an MP, and I've got it here. Let me just read it to you because it says it a bit better than I can say. Yes, in the 1860s, after increased loss of ships due to overloading, they just used to load the ships up. They expect, everybody to do their bit to keep the boat floating. But of course, it couldn't if it was overloaded. So Samuel Plimsoll took up the load line cause against strong opposition. Don't we often find that the real things that need to be done often there's strong opposition to them, which is daft, isn't it? Anyway, it got put into practice, and it's a line that's on the boats, the Plimsoll line. If you go through, as it says here, rough waters, waves, well, you don't want the boat loaded up to the full, do you? Common sense tells you that. So there's this legal limit now that a ship can be loaded. Varying water temperatures will affect a ship's draft because warm water is less dense than cold water, providing less buoyancy, and in the same way, fresh water is less dense than seawater, with a similar lessening effect on buoyancy. So we tend to think, don't we? Oh yeah, I'll put a boat in water. I can see the rough water bit, but warm water, salt water, all have different buoyancies, and we're the same. If I'm sailing through, lovely calm waters, well, I can load up a bit. But if I'm sailing through rough water, I have to put some bits off. I have to think about what's happening. Now, if I do that, my emotional purse won't get emptied. So it's about looking all the time. What waters am I sailing through? How am I doing? Do I need to offload anything? I did offload when Pete was in hospital. I just focused on what I needed to do. And I did ask for help, actually, with my daughters. Could you help me pay this bill, do this, do that? And we did it together, which halved the load. And it was good. It was very good. So think about the water you're going through. Is it rough? Is it less buoyant? Do I need to ditch some stuff so that when that water calms down, then it'll be much better? And the emotional purse won't empty so much. I think when my emotional purse emptied was when Pete came home from hospital and all the help from the doctors and nurses stopped. And I was on my own, basically. I'm sure some of you know what that's like. But that's when my emotional purse got depleted. I'm glad to say, because I've looked after myself the last couple of weeks and Pete's getting stronger, that, yeah, I've got a note back in my purse, £5. So if you've been asked to do something and it's going to be difficult or it's going to cost you energy-wise, see what else you can let go of. Is there anything that you can do later? And that way then, we can stay well. Whereas if you say, no, that's all right, I can manage, and you just do what you normally do, then things are going to suffer. Anyway, so I've got some things to show you that what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. But I did say last episode I was going to read you my story, which I'm going to do. And I was going to, because I'd read that cloth stories, I'll just get it. Yeah, because I'd read this book, it's encouraged me to think about maybe doing some craft work, not the paper craft, but some fabric crafting in relation to the story that I wrote about myself. Well, it is a true story, it is my story. And when I wrote it, I remember saying to Pete, I've got nothing to write about. He said, don't be daft. We've all had a life, you know, because I loved his little stories. I've got more of them to read, although I have read them before, but I know the new viewers would like to hear them. And I said, I've got nothing to write about. My life wasn't interesting. He said, I think it might have been. If it wasn't interesting, it's your life. So it prompted me to sit down, and the only way I could do it is my way, to start at the beginning. And last week I read the first bit as to how I got started doing that little button work with my friend. And so I'm going to read you another bit today. So I have done 3. I'm going to do it. Well, I said to Pete, I think I'll do it like this. I showed you in episode, I put the episode on here as to all this. I did this while Pete was in hospital. So they're quite precious, really, to me. They were just what I wanted to do. No pattern, just what I wanted to do. And they all sort of, well, they have a memory for me. And yeah, I like them. Well, I'm glad I like them because I did them. But it goes on and on a bit, and I've shown you before. But here we are. A little bit of weaving there. Oh, it does go on and on. Yeah, you can get a lot on these, can't you? So I thought to myself, shall I do that? I think that's what I'll do, my story. And I might put a little note maybe on the back, which I think that's what I'm going to do. However, I have done 3 embroideries as well. Well, no, 2 embroideries, because the other one is my Chinwag logo. And the embroideries that I've done over the last couple of weeks, one was a present from my daughter for my anniversary last year. And she got it from Nikki Franklin, the Stitchery. And that's where my logo's from. I think it's called the Green Door, mine. And I used to have it on a project bag. But when you take project bags in and out and you load them up, and I just thought I don't want my embroidery to get spoiled. So I took it off the front, and I've done another 2. One that my daughter bought me, and another one which my dad, well, we haven't got to that bit in the story yet, obviously, but when I was 11, we moved, and my dad built me a tree house. It wasn't a tree house as I've embroidered. It was just like a platform, really, but you climb up the ladder. I used to come home from school, always made myself a big bowl of fresh fruit salad, and I'd take my fresh fruit salad and sit up in the tree house and do my homework. It was a very, very special place to me. Anyway, she had an embroidery called the Apple Tree House, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And I couldn't resist it. So I've done that over the last couple of days. And I must be honest, after I've done this chinwag, I have got to get on with some housework. Place is tidy. I always like a tidy place, but I think I could get the duster out because my purse now is much fuller than it was. I'll show you the embroideries and what I've done with my story after I've read my story. But first of all, I'm going to put Pete's piece up. Well, his Desert Island Discs. if you're new here, to get my husband's brain working a bit. If any of you know Pete, he's quite a lively guy and a quiet guy at the same time. Probably because I chat a lot, that's when he's quiet, and if I'm not around, that's when he's lively. He has got certain phrases that my friends know, such as, hello, what's going on here then? And they love him dearly. But after his stint in hospital, with sepsis, by the way, his brain was a bit fuddled. And I thought doing Desert Island Discs might help him. And I can tell you, it certainly is. I can see an improvement from the last time that we did it. Well, it's record number 4. Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames were performing regularly at the Flamingo, Wardour Street, between 62 and 65. And you were there at 62, definitely. And this is how it describes the Flamingo. This bawdy Soho nightclub played a small but important part in the intrigue and excitement that generated the atmosphere of the first half of the 60s. Fame recalls that there were only a handful of hip young white people that used to go to the Flamingo. He said, when I first went there as a punter, I was scared. Once I started to play there, it was no problem. The club closed at 6 a.m., enabling musicians like Alexis Corner to play there after performing elsewhere. Fame remembers that half the clientele were West Indian, while the other half were Black American GIs. Fame was one of the first white artists to be intrigued by ska, sniffed at by the British music press.
We loved it.
He heard it in Jamaican cafes in and around Ladbroke Grove, and his trumpeter Eddie Thornton was Jamaican. And this is where you got your love for the music, wasn't
Blue Beat. We called it. It was called
Blue
Beat
Beat.
because it was on a Blue Beat label.
Okay. His group also performed at the Roaring Twenties.
Yeah, went there.
You went there.
Suckle.
Count Suckle, a nightclub off Carnaby Street run by Count Suckle, an influential Jamaican DJ, Fame says. Suckle had a fantastic record collection.
He certainly did.
Yeah. He used to get direct imports from Memphis and the Caribbean. All the old Blue Beat stuff was being played in the clubs where we played. It's your love, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what you love. So here we go. It says, Fame made firm friends with many Black American soldiers who visited the Flamingo. They would play in the latest jazz and blues releases from America, 3 of which affected him so powerfully they inspired him to move from the piano to his famous Hammond organ. And then, of course, Green Onions, the seminal single by Booker T and the MGs, within 2 days convinced him he had to change. And that became his record, really, for us, didn't it?
Well, yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
Tell us about it then. You were working where?
I was working... I'd left the Trocadero.
You left the Trocadero and now you're working at the...
Hyde Park Hotel.
Okay.
And funny enough, I was earning £8.50 at the Trocadero.
£8.10 shillings a week.
£8.10 shillings. And,
Okay.
and I went to the Hyde Park Hotel and was earning £14.
£14?
A week, which is a heck of a lot.
It was a heck of a lot then.
But it wasn't a heck of a lot then. It
wasn't a bad wage.
It was pretty good though. It was better than £8.
But then there you are. You were going to these clubs.
Yeah. We started off with a discotheque.
Right.
Which was just a couple of doors down from the Flamingo.
Okay.
Early
60s.
Yeah, and that's when we heard, the Blue Beat and all that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We went to see Georgie Fame Sunday afternoons. He did a 3 till 6 gig.
Okay.
So that's when we went, because we'd done an all-nighter at the Wardour Street.
Yeah.
Right,
at the disc.
The discotheque, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the discos, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we used to do our little... After when we got chucked out at 7 o'clock, we'd walk across to Liverpool Street and have a wash and brush up, and then we'd go down Petticoat Lane
Right.
George's Cafe in we'd have a cup of tea, and then we'd wander off to Houndsditch, where I think we went to what they call Wimpy Bar, and it was one of the first Wimpy bars
Must have been
to
then.
be in
Yeah.
the UK.
Right. You
And then we'd wander back
Okay.
to Soho.
So you've been down the disc all night, wash and brush up,
Yeah,
George's Cafe, and then something to eat.
yeah.
And
then back to Waldorf Street, and then there was a little coffee bar there.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called now. Opposite the disc, opposite the Flamingo.
Yeah.
And we'd wait till 3 o'clock.
And go in
and see that, and then out we come at 6 o'clock, go back into the coffee bar. What was it called? Can't remember. Anyway, and then we wait till 7 o'clock when the disc opened again, and then we stayed there until it closed, and then we go home.
till the morning.
No, not the morning.
Oh, what
no,
did it
it
close?
closed at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Something like that. We get the milk train home and fall into bed.
Right.
Or I'd go to work.
Oh, go straight to work.
Yeah. That's why I didn't last long at the.
So you kept that up for quite a while, didn't you?
Yeah, until the.
And one of your favourite parts of your life, you say?
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was everything was new.
Yes. This is the live record.
Yeah.
That was taken from the LP record title, which excited everybody concerned with the soulful singing of Georgie fame. And now, after a hectic 3 weeks in getting the project underway, it was really happening. This was Wednesday, the 25th of September, 1963. The atmosphere was electric.
Yeah, we weren't there.
The stage was set for what must be one of the swingingest sounds ever to be recorded in Britain. And so this was recorded live on that night. So it'll be Green Onions is your 4th record.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to your 5th record when you've left that part of your life and things are moving on.
Yeah.
So we'll say goodbye now.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. So that was his record 4. Yeah. So I'm going to read you a bit of my story. See what you think. Let me know. So I've read you the bit about what? About how I got into it, with Sonia and the buttons. And I'll just read that. Yeah, I'll start from there. Okay. My childhood was quite ordinary, nothing special, I want to say. But of course, on reflection, it was quite special. I was loved by a mum and dad who were doing their best to make life comfortable for me and who wanted to give me the best opportunities life could give. The war had finished 4 years earlier. Sweet rationing was abolished in April, and although there was still food rationing, things were beginning to settle down and hopes were high. I loved bright days and sunshine, and it was just that kind of day when I was born. My background, when you look way back, is varied. For instance, a census of 1871 shows my 4th great-grandmother, Lydia Peck, being born in Bristol, but now living with Mary, Harriet, Anna, her daughters, and Annie Jemima, her granddaughter, my great-grandmother, in Ossleton Street, a main road close to King's Cross Station. Lydia's husband, Samuel Peck, hailed from Norfolk. The Whitmans are from South Cerney, Gloucestershire, and again moved to London. Henry Whitman is 1871 and living at 23 Little Clarendon Street. This street in Somerstown had been described by Charles Booth in his Survey of London in 1898 as a narrow thoroughfare of bad repute, the worst spot in the immediate neighbourhood, and a good many prostitutes and amateurish thieves are living here. The local name for the street is Little Hell. In 1879, Henry marries Annie Jemima in Somerstown, St Pancras. Henry in 1881 was a tallow melter and chandler of candles. They lived at Pleasant Grove, and Dickens described this in his book, My Mutual Friend. He says, Between Battle Bridge and that part of the Holloway district was a tract of suburban Sahara, where tiles and bricks were burnt, bones were boiled, carpets were beat, rubbish was shot, dogs were fought, and dust was heaped by contractors. This was where my nan Lydia lived as a small child. Lydia was born on the 22nd of June, 1884, one of 8 children. Her mum, Annie Jemima, dies aged 38. Mum says she never spoke of any of it. And so my mum's family are from Islington, a stone's throw from St Pancras. My dad's family, on the other hand, hail from, well, Islington, St Pancras, London. Helmet Row, Old Street, getting married in the same church, St Luke's. When I mentioned Sedgwick Street, Homerton, to my dad, he shuddered. Not a good place. It was one of the poorest places between the wars, but now has been regenerated. My great-grandmother, Charlotte Milne, although she was born in the same area, was Scottish. Her father, my great-grandfather, Alexander Milne, a good Scottish name, was born in 1833 and was a printer and came to London from Aberdeen. As a little girl, I always wanted to have the lovely accent. I was thrilled when I found out I was a quarter Scottish. Mum and Dad were 18 when they married. War was raging with a new kind of threat, the doodlebugs and V2 rockets. They'd met at Tottenham Royal, a local dance hall. Dad loved dancing, but Mum said she didn't have the knack. Working since they were 14, dashing down shelters when the siren went off, and on top of that, Mum looking after my nan, who was seriously ill. She says Dad was like a knight in shining armour. He'd get on 3 buses to visit her in Highbury and always produce some tasty treats from under his hat, which meant so much because of rationing. After my nan, Lydia, died in December 1943, aged just 59, their relationship grew stronger, and a year later, on Christmas Eve, 1944, they were married. Mum says with such affection that Dad's mum put on a lovely spread for them, neighbours and friends helping with ration coupons. She borrowed her wedding dress from the lady whom she worked for in a paper shop. Her husband was a prisoner of war, and Mum said she was thrilled to lend it to her. Dad borrowed his suit, and they honeymooned in the house opposite as the neighbours had gone away for a couple of days. A strong memory for Mum is sitting on the stairs during her reception and crying. I picture a young girl still grieving for her mum. She says Nanny Cunningham, Dad's nan, said quite kindly but firmly, "Come on, stop that. This is your wedding. All this has been done for you. Enjoy it." Nanny Cunningham had lost so many of her family, her husband, siblings, and 4 children. She knew all about grief and encouraged Mum to enjoy the day. So on Chinwag, episode 11, I talk about the time when, about the tallow melting and Dickens and Mum growing up at age 10. And if you wanted to go back to that video, you can see Mum and I chatting about it.
Where's he gone? Good.
What's the horsey song? Horsey, horsey, don't you stop. Up you go with the clippity clop. How about a dance? Could you do a ballet dance around the floor? On the yes, on the grass.
I love it. She's in her way. What's she doing?
Can you?
He's not going to do it.
Yes, he is. Smile. Yeah. Did you do your sad face?
You got to do your sad
You're
face.
doing you happy? Sad. So here I am at the crafting table. Here's one that I'd done earlier, which I love. It's my Chinwag logo, and I've used a pale pink linen for the backing. I love these 5-inch squares. I was tempted to send off for a 6-inch, but these are just lovely. And then I did this that my daughter bought me. They're cute, aren't they? And you paint the background with a little bit of blue paint and then a little bit of painting in the sand. You don't have to do that. I just did a tiny, tiny bit, and I think it sets it off very nicely. So I did that for the backing on that. Thought it was rather apt. And then this is the one that I did that reminded me of my tree house. Of course, this is rather a beautiful one. Apple tree house with a little bucket of apples and the swing and the ladder and little flowers and apples on the ground. I really like it. It was such a joy to do. It really was. And I popped that in some nice linen look fabric. I said to Pete, I think I'll, put it in like the roll. Oh no, he said, you want to see them. So I think I don't know yet, I might put them with some ribbon between and hang them. And then I did this for Eva and Ron, my mum, the names in the family, Henry, Annie Jemima, Capel. I think he was my great-great-great-granddad. He came from Devon. Alexander came from Scotland, Helmet Row, Hackney, Islington, Sedgwick Street, tallow maker. And my great-granddad was a hassock maker. There was also jewellers and furriers, a cordwainer. I had to look that up. Beautiful. It was quite a long apprenticeship to make shoes. And my great-nan was a laundress, as was Lydia Peck. She was a laundress. They lived at that Pleasant Grove Dickens spoke about in Our Mutual Friend. I found this piece of fabric, love comforts like sunshine after the rain. I thought that was apt. So that was my one. And then my next one I did, this was the photograph. That's Lydia, my nan, who of course I never met. She died when my mum was 17. And that's my mum. So mum was born in 1926. So I would imagine she was about 2 there. And I did that. I'm not keen on mum's nose. But on the other hand, it's not too bad. Doesn't look good through the lens of a camera, but that's Lydia and Eva taking that from the photograph. And of course, all the way I was reminded, this is just an interpretation. It's just a memory. And I think I'm going to sew these together and then put them on, you know, one of these. And then the third one I did was my mum got married in 1944. She borrowed her wedding dress, and I thought how she wouldn't have been able to choose any lace or what she wanted. She borrowed a dress from the paper shop lady who she worked for, and that's just a reminder of her wedding. So we'll see what comes next. Oh, and I'm going to put that, you know, I shall sew that to make the line, and we'll see what comes up with the next bit that I read. If I've got time, I'm not going to make a, you know, worry of it. It's just what I fancy doing. So there you have it for this week. Well, the last 2 weeks, hasn't it been? What I've been crafting, a little film of going to visit the family, Pete's piece in the way of his record number 4, and the emotional purse and the Plimsoll line. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll join me for next time. I never know what it'll be. So we'll take pot luck together, shall we? And so I'm going to leave you with a little film of my trip to Devon, Dartmoor, Gidley. And I hope you enjoy that. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye-bye. Take care. And thanks for joining me.